Hi, Einar, how are you going?
Doing good, thank you. Enjoying my morning tea here
Good,
in Norway.
yes. Lovely. It's nighttime here in Australia. Well, getting that way.
Mm. Mm.
So you're from Wardruna, is that correct? Did I pronounce
Yeah,
that?
yeah. People have different ways of pronouncing it,
Yes,
and
I
it's
could.
it's fun.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've offered this is your sixth album coming out, right? Is that right?
That's correct.
Brilliant, brilliant. So those that people that don't know your kind of music that you do a sort of esoteric folk style music. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a way, you could say that I'm I'm making music with the oldest instruments that we find in the Nordic region
Yeah,
of the world, and in a modern way. I'm taking something old and creating something new with it,
yeah,
based on tradition, based on history, but in a modern kind of soundscape.
yeah, yeah. Because I think
Mm.
that what you guys do really well is that you're very in tuned with your past and your heritage musically and spiritually. And I think that comes across quite well in your music, particularly the last few albums about Odin and it sort of has a real ethereal calming effect when I listen to
Mm.
it. So,
Mm.
I mean, when you're using those instruments, is it hard to find them, or do you have to get them made specially?
Um, well, not it's not so hard now, but when I started this journey 25 years ago, then it was very obscure things,
Mm,
and very few people, like a handful of people here in Norway who still were making them or using them, and some of them even less. So it took a lot of time, took a lot of trips to museums, talks with archaeologists, and instrument makers, and some of them I had people make for me. Some of them I made myself.
oh, brilliant.
Um, it was a long a, a long challenging journey
Yeah,
at that point. But of course now there is a after the explosion of interest for Nordic culture, the this is much easier these days.
I was going to say because you could sort of there's quite a few similar type of acts like yourself
Mm,
around.
mm.
One that came out recently, which is Long, were out
Yeah.
here only recently. I unfortunately was in the UK, so I missed them.
Ah,
As is,
okay.
so hopefully they'll come again, and you never know, right? And
Mm.
hopefully your guys will come over. It's a long way, but you never
Yeah.
know. Um, so did you find with the research that you were doing for the instruments. And did you find that you've learned a lot over these 25 years, your like historically and spiritually and all those sort of esoteric and pagan things? Have you learned a lot from that? Did you learn more than you thought you would learn?
Yeah, of course, and still do.
Mm,
For me, even though it's never been a goal for me to recreate music from any specific time period,
mm,
the um, knowing as much as possible has been a really important part of my journey. So my how I approach it, both in terms of the musicology as well as the themes I'm
mm,
writing about, has been like an academic approach, first to lay a solid ground
mm.
for the creative work to take place. So I don't climb into trees that don't have roots. That
Yeah.
has been an important part of that whole journey, and still is. Whenever I'm researching, that is the method I use. I try to attack it from a multidisciplinary way.
Mm.
So I'm sort of true to whatever we know or think we know about something, and then I'm free also to go to use it however I want afterwards.
Yeah, it
Um,
must be very rewarding I would say, because you've been in many bands. I mean, you've been in black metal legends, Gorgorth. You've been all over the place. This must be a very rewarding time for you because of your obvious passionate
Yeah,
for your Norwegian heritage.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I was, I guess when I was playing in Gorgoroth, I would say metal music was kind of already out of my system on a personal level. So that
Oh,
was more of a professional way, or yeah, it was art. It was an artistic expression
hmm,
and work. But I guess the need to do something that was more in line with my own personal passion and interest just grew stronger and stronger. So at some point, I worked these things parallel for a while, but at some
hmm.
point, I just decided that where I wanted to put my focus, and yeah, that has been a really rewarding thing. It's a beautiful thing when your work becomes something that you would do anyway. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
um,
Wonderful. Yeah. Work should
it's
be
a
should
thing
be
that I
enjoyable. Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's very rewarding.
And do you find that your audiences have changed over the time? As the sort of, as you said, the more exposure to Norwegian music in the world, do you think your audience has changed?
Um, yeah, in a way, but we saw this from quite early on that, of course, a lot in the beginning there was perhaps predominantly people who knew us from the metal world
Hmm.
that was exposed to it, but even like in the early times, we could see that the music was speaking to a very broad audience, and that has just multiplied over the years. So, and I guess one of the things that I'm most proud of in this whole thing to see how broad the audience is. It's like it's all age groups represented. It's all sorts of ethnicities, and yeah, you have metal people and the people who normally go to the opera in the same room, and
Wonderful.
historical reenactment, or it's just all sorts of people.
It's wonderful
It's
because
beautiful.
yeah, I think it's fantastic because it gives you it must look out into that audience and think, wow, because I'm sure as an artist, you always want to know who's listening and who you're reaching, and you look out there and it's a sea of different people. It's because
Yeah,
I've listened to your albums, and I said I find them uh, intriguing, like
yeah,
very intriguing because they're not to be musically they're a complete different beast to your
yeah,
normal modern music, right? So you
yeah,
put
yeah,
them on and you feel a sense. I mean, I don't really say this, but a sense of spirituality that comes through in that music, and you really
yeah.
feel it, like the passion.
Mm.
Especially the latest one you've got out now, which I was listening to now. I'm gonna embarrass myself by mispronouncing this, but Hebjorgen. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, almost.
Oh,
Hebionen.
right, there we go. I practiced it all
Yeah,
day today to get it right.
yeah. Well, you were pretty close,
I was
so well
close. I was
done.
close. But so you're just releasing little snippets from the new album that's going to come out
Yeah,
on 24th of January. Is that right?
yeah,
Brilliant, brilliant. And you're
yeah. At the
taking.
same time, we're in Australia at that point
Oh,
on
wonderful.
the tour. Yeah, so it's
I didn't know. Sorry. When are you
yeah,
here?
yeah,
When
yeah.
are
So
you here?
we're doing three or is it 3 or 4 shows in Australia and one in New Zealand
Oh,
in
wonderful.
in the end of yeah, right around the the release. So in January.
It's going to be hot. Have you been here before in
Yes.
January?
Yeah, actually, no, in February.
Oh
I was
yeah.
passing through Australia once. Yeah, so I do know it's summer.
It's going to get warm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Particularly if you're doing places like Sydney and Brisbane and places like that, it's going to be hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to love you. As I said, the audiences over here really pick this stuff up
Yeah.
massively. The Highland just sold out. They just it's there's definitely a place here for your music. I think particularly.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something we've been wanting to do for a long time, and I know a lot of people have been wanting it for a long time. So it feels great to finally be able to do it. We were
Yeah.
supposed to do it like it was in the works when the pandemic hit
Oh,
a few years back.
yeah.
So, and that of course shifted everything by 2 3 years. Um, Also after,
Yeah.
like catching up with all the things that has been postponed, and so yeah, it feels good to finally be able to do it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so I was reading your tour schedule for Europe. I see you would have played Royal Albert Hall in London on March 19th.
Yes.
Wow, that's got to be something special. That have you done it before?
Not Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
We've played pretty decent venues over there
Mm. You are, yeah.
several times, but yeah, that's it's kind of a yeah, it's a legendary room basically.
Yes,
So
it's a fantastic place.
it's
Yeah,
going to be great.
I've seen some brilliant bands there. The sound is beautiful. So I think you'll fill that place beautifully with sound. It will be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So touring with your band, how many members of your band are there?
On stage, we are 7 people.
Seven. That must be a tough one, touring with seven and all the instruments and all the
Oh yeah,
logistics.
yeah. And that's only the band. The crew
Oh, of
is even
course.
bigger. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty big production altogether. So
Mm,
yeah.
mm. And does it take a lot of time to set up for each gig because of the instruments are different to like typical just guitars you plug in? I mean, does it take you time?
Yeah, yeah. I would say yeah, takes a bit of time, but
Mm,
we have such a wonderful team helping us do what we need to do. So it's all pretty well-driven machinery, I would say. So
hopefully. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and they're quite fast. So
Yeah.
I'll give them that. Yeah.
Do you have to get specialized crew for the kind of music that you make though? Like because your techs will be different, would they not your
Yeah, or you need to teach the techs
oh you need to, of
how.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, so so that's been also been a process and something they grow into
Mm,
in a way. But no, when you have really good people, they adapt and they understand quickly. So it's because it's important, a lot of these instruments, they're one of a kind, they're handmade,
yeah, I was gonna say, very careful with them. Yeah.
it's yeah, you have to treat them accordingly, basically.
Mm. Yeah. And what happens? So I know it's a silly question, but say Touchwood, you're on tour and one instrument
Mm.
is a specialized instrument. Do you have anything back up to help it, to fix it if something happens to it?
Yeah, it's like 5 6 7 years ago. No,
Mm.
not necessarily, but that's something we've um, been working on also, to have like backups for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Like at least the showstoppers. Those you cannot do a show without.
Right.
Those you need some sort of a replacement for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a logistical, uh, and of course
Yeah.
now going to Australia as well, like doing the customs
Oh God, yes. They're really strict
applications
here.
for all of our nature instruments and
Uh-huh.
horns and bones and antlers, and
Yeah.
um, uh, but it's as long as you do it correctly, and it shouldn't be a problem. But it's a bit of a time consuming process for
Yeah, I'm
sure.
sure will be. Now, speaking of which, those instruments are made of skins and so on. Are they temperature sensitive? Do they change in sound being played in a warm country to say to back in Norway?
Yeah, humidity and temperature
Mm.
has some impact on some of the instruments. Not all of them, but yeah, but that's the same with violins and
Mm.
instruments like that also, you know. So, but it's mostly a problem or a challenge,
A
you
challenge.
can say, when you're outdoors doing outdoor concerts. That's where it can become a bit tricky.
I was going to imagine if you're doing an outdoor festival and it's like 40 degrees out there and you've got heat sensitive instruments.
Yeah, or 40 degrees, that's one thing, but like when the night comes
Oh,
and the temperature suddenly drops during your set,
oh, of
then
course.
then then you or if heavy rain comes or
Mm,
things like that. So you never know, but that it keeps you on your toes.
I'm sure
So
it
that's
does.
you know, if it has a value, it has a cost.
Absolutely. And it's there. So the name of the new album is Burner. Did I
Yeah,
pronounce it? I pronounced
Berna
it
or
wrong.
Birna.
Birna. I thought that E was the
Yeah,
I, and I was like, I'll get
yeah.
it. Birna. And is there any particular tale around that album? Has it have any particular story?
It means the title means she bear, and the dominant sort of story arc on the album is the bear, basically the focus point. Six of the songs on the album is like a story arch
Yeah.
uh, about the bear and different aspects of the bear. Um, uh, the rhythm of a bear, the yearly rhythm of a bear, has sort of it encompasses the whole life cycle in a way,
Mm.
especially if you're from a place that has seasonal changes. So, and this is the reason why there are so many traditions and myths and stories about the bear as well. And yeah, I wanted to give voice to some of these. So that's sort of the backbone of the album.
Brilliant. Well, I will look forward to hearing that when it finally drops. I said I really like the single. I won't try and say it again because I got it wrong first. But I really, really did enjoy that a lot. It's an EP, isn't it? There's a couple of tracks on there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's we've released what is it? Three songs from the
Mm.
new album thus far, and of course the one the Hebjørn song is a little bit special because it's a fully acoustic one, just with the
Oh,
song
yeah.
and the harp, the lyre. So that's it sticks out a little bit from the like the big soundscape.
Mm.
But yeah, in the context, especially, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I suppose when we hear the album, we'll be able to know which part of the rhythm of the year of the season that piece of music comes in. If you,
Yeah,
it's
it
yeah.
sort of rounds it up
Mm.
in a way. Yeah,
Yeah. I do love music that takes you on a journey. I think it's important. You know,
I think so too.
there's music to entertain you. Don't get me wrong. We all have put music on that we want to entertain ourselves. Not put Kiss on,
Mm,
take us on a journey. We want to just have a bit of rock and roll. But
mm,
music like yours is a place. It's like for me, it's a sit down, quiet.
yeah,
You know, and listen to it. It's not
yeah.
so I can't walk around it. I have to sit down, and give myself to it, which I think
Mm.
is what you. I'm sure that's what you would need, what you want from your audience, isn't it?
Yeah, the music is sort of a little bit demanding in a sense,
Mm,
but it can be both. You know, it can be something you lose yourself into, but
mm,
it can also be something that doesn't. It's there, but it doesn't steal your focus.
mm.
A lot of people use it as like when they paint or
Oh yes.
when they write or work because
Mm,
it's there. It puts you in a mood or in a flow, but it doesn't necessarily steal your focus. So
that's right.
it can be both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also for me it's when I create it, it's like a journey and the journey I want to go on and potentially other feel the same.
No, it's wonderful. It does take us on that journey, and we thank you for it. It's fantastic, and it's really good to see that Norway has grown. It's its ancient roots are growing more
Mm,
widely again, which is it's wonderful. And so we look forward to having you over in Australia. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to come now because that's wonderful.
Yeah, you should.
I underlined it in my diary.
Do it.
And I'm looking forward to the album dropping in January.
Yep.
So, and it's on all streaming platforms. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if anyone wants any merch or hard copy stuff like vinyls, cassettes, we can just come to your website to get that. Is that correct?
Yep,
Brilliant,
that is
as usual.
correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Buy more. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting to me. And
Pleasure, sir.
I hope the rest of your day is lovely.
Likewise, sir. Or
See
night.
you. All night,
All
yes.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.